Good morning, everyone. I'm honored and happy to be the project partner of the month with Delft University of Technology this month. My name is Stephan Rikkert. In the coming 20 to 25 minutes, I will take you on a virtual tour to Delft, the Delft University, the campus, the faculty that I'm working, civil engineering. You will get a look in the kitchen, kijkje in de keuken, of some projects we are working on at our hydraulic engineering department. Then I will take you to the water lab we have here at the faculty. And then we are gonna have a look outside at flood-proof Holland. All right, so Delft is a very old city in the Netherlands. You can see it here on the map. It has city rights since 1246, so almost 800 years. I had a quick look on Wikipedia, and Delft appears to be famous for its connections to the royal house, the Oranje Nassau. It's blue pottery, Delft Blauw. You can see some Delft Blauw here. I think it's a very special type of vase. The painter Johannes Vermeer lived here. And of course, Delft is hosting Delft University of Technology. A bit more about the city to get an impression. It's an old city, so it has also a very old historic city center. You see here on the picture on the top right, the city hall. And the city has many canals, so a lot of water. That's what we like at civil engineering as well, so that's a good combination. This picture was taken somewhere near the station, so it has many bikes, which is for Dutch people, especially in student cities, this is not even something we have not seen before, so it's quite common. And I've added this picture because I really like the architecture here. This is a new building. It's currently being built near the train station of Delft. It's called the House of Delft. And it includes in the architecture a lot of glass, some Delft Blauw, so it uses the colors, and also the facades of the historic old houses. You can see it in the shape of this building as well. So that's, yeah, I really like this architecture. So now we go to the campus. You see here an aerial picture of the campus. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but here in the bottom left, you see the architecture faculty. And along the architecture faculty is a road which goes straight into the rest of the campus, which has on both sides different faculty and university buildings. And here in the end is the Faculty of Civil Engineering and Geosciences. So another picture of the university campus. What we see in the middle here is called the Mekel Park, which is a park that's in between faculty buildings. This used to be a parking lot some decades ago when we appreciated a parking spot over green areas, but that has changed luckily in the recent years. So this is a very nice place to hang out during the break and to meet colleagues. But yeah, some more serious things. The TU Delft has some main objectives, which is providing scientific education, conducting scientific research, transferring knowledge to society, and promoting social responsibility. And in all these things, it tries to make an impact for a better society. Some facts and figures. The TU Delft has a large student population, 27,000. So these were the numbers of last year. We also have 3,001 PhD students. You may know I finished some weeks ago, so this should be 3,000 now. We have a lot of people working here, over 6,000. Yeah, and here in the bottom, you see also the female student population, which is relatively low, 30%, and almost a quarter of our students is international students. So now we go to our faculty building. You see here the Faculty of Civil Engineering and Geosciences. Most of the part on the left with a lot of glass is for geosciences, and the rest is a part of civil engineering. Within the faculty, we have different departments. I work at the hydraulic engineering department. That's also the department that is involved in the Polder2C's project. But we also have some other departments. During my master, I was in the water management department. So I've seen 2 of the 7 departments. And within our department, to make it more complicated, we also have different sections. People focus on different things. Polder2C's falls under coastal engineering, but it also has a very strong connection to hydraulic structures and flood risk. Here on the left, we see some numbers. We do quite well in some of the university rankings. But I wanted to show also that we have around 100 new master students every year in the hydraulic engineering department, of which 15% is international students and almost 80% is male. So that's within hydraulic engineering, we have different ratios, male, female, than university overall. So now we'll have a kijkje in de keuken. So I'm going to talk about some of the projects we are working on, myself or my colleagues. And they are often in collaboration with other partners. So we have the storm surge barriers. There's a research program on storm surge barriers, also in collaboration with Rijkswaterstaat. We are doing research related to floodings in Limburg. We had floodings in Limburg last year. The Interreg Polder2C's project, I'm not going to tell you a lot about that. Coastal inundation of the polders in Bangladesh. We do a project there for the World Bank. And I'm going to tell something about the project that Mario van den Berg is working on. You've already heard of it before. Probably it's about the influence of foreshores on breach growth. So first, the storm surge barriers. My colleague Leslie Moyaert is doing a PhD on storm surge barriers. Here you see some very interesting barriers. The one on the top left is an inflatable barrier. You see the Maaslandkering in the middle, the Thames barrier, barriers in Venice, and the Oosterschelde barrier. And within the program, there are many research topics. The effects of climate change on storm surge barriers, adaptability of barriers, maintenance and optimization, and knowledge management of storm surge barriers. My colleague Leslie Moyaert is working on this, so if you want more information about this research program, you should contact him. Then the floodings in Limburg in 2021. So we had a major flooding during the summer last year in Limburg due to heavy rainfall. And you can see a picture here of well, what some of the streets look like in Limburg. So it was quite extreme. But at the same time, after these floodings happened, many researchers and experts put their heads together and thought, well, this is something that doesn't happen very often, and we should see what information we can collect as fast as possible to figure out, on the one hand, what has happened, and describe that as good as possible, but also to learn from it and make sure it doesn't happen in the future anymore, or at least minimize the consequences of flooding. So you see here a lot of organizations on the right. So there were experts and people from different organizations that said, okay, we have to focus on different aspects of this flood. So we made different groups focusing on meteorology, rivers, damage, flood defenses, evacuation and crisis management, and health effects. I was working within the damage group, and well, we did some field visits shortly after the floodings to get as much of information as we could get. So for the people who don't know Limburg, Limburg is a province in the south of the Netherlands. You can see it here. Normally it's a very nice area, hilly. In this picture, also very green. Yeah, especially for Dutch people, it's almost mountainous. It also has the highest point in the Netherlands, which is 322 meters. So that's a quick fun fact. But these hills also have a downside, and that's when it rains really hard. That's what happened last year. So the flooding occurred during the summer, which was a bit unexpected because we say we have a storm season starting in, I think, October, and it ends somewhere in the beginning of the year. But the floodings happened during the summer, and this was caused by a record rainfall of about 180 millimeters in 48 hours. And this resulted in the highest discharge of the River Meuse ever recorded, and also record discharges in tributaries. Here you see a picture of Valkenburg. So this is supposed to be a bridge over a water body, but it's almost being taken by the water. Here's an overview of what happened. So we did not only have floodings in the Netherlands, but also in Belgium and Germany. And Belgium and Germany have been hit harder, I think, by these floodings for a couple of reasons. The area over which this rainfall fell was larger, but also the area is steeper, which results in faster runoff of rainfall and bigger floods. So we did damage estimations, and because of the bigger flooding in Belgium and Germany, you can also see that the damage and especially the fatalities are much higher. So one of the important tasks of this fact-finding mission was to collect the data that was out there and to write down what happened, and also to write down the lessons learned, to learn from it. So some of the important lessons are that you should be prepared for the unexpected. We should improve our flood warning systems, and also because now we experience some extreme statistics in the river floods, we have to re-evaluate the likelihood and river system performance. And also some of the tributaries did not really have protection levels or dikes. We have to think about how we can reduce the flood risk there, and if we maybe have to increase our design and build dikes there. Yes, so now follow-up research is needed. International collaboration is required because the river doesn't start at the border, but it comes, it flows over the borders. And I think there's, after the summer, also an Utrecht project starting on this topic with partners from Belgium, Germany, and the Netherlands, and TU Delft is they're also involved. And if you want to read the report about this fact-finding mission, you can click on this link and you will find it. It's mainly in Dutch, but it also has an English summary. Coastal inundation in Bangladesh. This is a World Bank funded project that I am currently working on. And it's focusing on the coastal polders in Bangladesh, which are very prone to flooding. It's often subject to cyclones. And here you see some pictures of the consequences of Cyclone Ayla, which caused many dikes to breach. So the goal of our project is it's a relatively small project. It is to give guidance on inundation modeling of coastal polders. What you often see is that quick estimates of the flood extent and inundation depths are made with a very conservative approach called the bathtub approach. And what this approach does, it assumes a certain protection level for a dike, and if the water level in the sea or the river exceeds this protection level, the dike fails. So it's either it survives or it fails. And if it's if it's not failing, the polder is dry, and if the dike fails, the water level in the polder is the same as the water level in the sea or the river, and that's quite a conservative approach, which often leads to overestimation of the flood extent and the inundation depth. So what we are doing is we made a model that better takes into account the characteristics of both the hazard, the flood protection structure, and the polder. And for the flood protection structure, we also look at the probability of failure given a certain water level, the number of breaches, and also breach development. So how the breach grows in time. Because the opening of the breach is the limiting factor for the amount of water that can enter the polder. And here are some preliminary findings. You see here a vertical red line for two different polders. So polder with an area of 70 square kilometers and 200 square kilometers. So the vertical line represents the protection level. So these dikes around this polder are designed for events with a return period of 10 years. It's quite low. And you see this gray line that goes up and then diagonally upwards to the right. That's the inundation depth that you will assume if you use the bathtub approach. So if the water level is lower than, has a return period lower than 10 years, there's no flooding, but if it exceeds this 10 years, the water level in your polder will be the same as the water level in the sea. We also show here the probabilistic approach, and that takes into account the probability of failure and the expected number of breaches. So you can see that for relatively low water levels, or water levels with return periods up to 100 years, the expected inundation depth is much lower than what you would get if you use the bathtub approach. And if this, if the return period is higher, so very extreme events that occur once per 100 years or once per 1,000 years, then both approaches are relatively close to each other. And that's because if the event is so extreme, or the more extreme the event gets, the more likely it is that you get multiple failures and that the polder will fill up very easily. Stefan,
can I ask you a question now, or do you want it to wait till the end? Or?
Let's do that at the end, Milan.
Okay.
And what you see here is a smaller polder and a larger polder, and the lines, the expected inundation is almost the same. And that's because even though the bigger polder has a larger storage capacity, it also has more flood defenses around it, which means more levee sections. And due to the length effect, the probability of multiple breaches is there also larger. So now we go to the effect of foreshores on breach growth. That's the project that Mario van den Berg is working on. Zhu et al. Have found that based on historic data, they could say that if a foreshore was present, the breach size and also the breach depth was limited compared to when there's no foreshore. And this has consequences also for the discharge entering the polder, and also the consequences of the flooding. What Zhu et al. Not did was quantify how the foreshores affect breach growth. So that's what Mario van den Berg will figure out during his PhD. So now I'm taking you to the lab where the first experiments have been performed. Mario has made this lab setup. You see the water is coming in from this side and it flows over. I'm not sure if you see my mouse, but different materials are put within the flume, sand, clay, and vegetated foreshore. And with cameras from the side, the flume has both on both sides glass walls. With cameras, it can be measured how fast the material erodes. So here you see 3 pictures of a sand foreshore. It erodes relatively quickly. So if you start pumping with high discharges in this experiment, after I think within some minutes, the whole foreshore was completely eroded. So sand is not the strongest material, but from this experiment, we can at least derive the erosion rate. So Mario is now has now moved to flood-proof Holland. So he's working outside, and one of his master students is continuing these experiments. So now we go to flood-proof Holland, which is, I also say this about the Hedwige-Prosperpolder, but it's sort of a playground for hydraulic engineers. We use it for flood risk management research. So some examples are testing and improving mobile flood barriers. Joost Pol, one of our PhDs, has performed many piping experiments there some years ago. Danny Janssen, another PhD, did some prototype testing of the breach defender. And Mario is currently working there on his breach experiments. And to get an impression, here are some pictures of different mobile barriers that have been tested. And I think these pictures were taken on a day that there was a sort of sandbag competition where different teams had to place sandbags. They all got a different mission from the beginning. So some groups were allowed to discuss and think about their wall. You also see a group of high school girls here. There was a group of young girls that had to build a wall and see if it would withstand one of the innovations, the mobile dijk. And the military was also there to see how fast they could place different innovations. So here you see the box barrier in the top left, mobile dijk on the bottom left, the tube barrier here on the top right, and this is the slam dam in the bottom right. Okay, so this is flood-proof Holland. Mario is now there building a new dike. We have different basins. So at the moment he's working in the large basin where he will figure out the effect of foreshore on breach growth. So currently a sandy dike is built. There will be a clay layer on top. Then a breach is initiated and the basin that is filled will flow through the breach into the empty basin, and we are measuring how fast this breach is growing. To get water back into the basin and keep the circulation going, there's also some pumps being installed as well at the moment. In the small basin, so after the summer, Mario will do some more tests. These tests focus on how the foreshore erodes with a fixed breach width. So the dike that you see here is made out of wood and is a fixed structure. So that one only focuses on the foreshore. So like I said, Mario is working already really hard in the polder, and we organize an event on the 27th. So I have a video here as a sort of a teaser. There was an old dike. That's also the dike where our other PhDs performed their tests on. So the piping experiment, you see here the remainders of this piping experiment test, and also the breach defender test. And Mario needed a new dike, so this existing dike could be breached. And that's what you'll see in this video. I hope it works. Okay, so that was the teaser. I've also come to an end of my presentation. So I hope you like the teaser, and I hope you also will join on the 27th. Yeah, so we're at the end. So thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now.
Thank you, Stephan, for the interesting show, I must say, and look in the kitchen. I know Miron has a question, but before that, because the activity, the invitation for the June 27th, now I wasn't there in the beginning, and I suppose it was already mentioned
Yes.
in the beginning. Are there more details provided to everybody, or do we still have to send out a kind of detailed programming so everybody knows what the day is about?
Michiel sent an invitation this morning.
Yeah. Okay, so then everybody knows how he or she can join this probably interesting day. Okay, questions for Stephan?
Yeah, I had a question, Patrick, if I may.
Please do, please do.
Stephan, very interesting presentation also about what you did for the World Bank. Just a quick question about what kind of model you use to simulate the breach growth in Bangladesh. Can you comment on that?
So I think for now we have used Verheyen van de Knaap.
Okay. Okay. And this project is finished or is still ongoing?
No, it's still ongoing.
Okay.
Still ongoing.
That would be nice to see what is the impact of different model choices you make here. But
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
I believe this Verheyen van der Knaap breach growth model is based on some historical breach events and is the default breach growth model within SOBIC. And SOBIC 1D or 2D is the default software for modeling floods in the Netherlands. If I'm missing the things there, please correct me. Okay, any other question for Stephan on the TU Delft?
I had a little question about the assumptions and the approach you use for, let's say, the inundation. You had this bathtub approach. And I was intrigued because you said that it overestimates the damages, which makes sense, but it also seems that it underestimates the probability. Isn't it right? Because it assumes that you get inundation when the crest level has been reached.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't really take into account probability of failure. So it's difficult to determine a probability of flooding.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks.
And Philippe, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Stephan, for your presentation. That was very interesting. I was in particular interested in the foreshores, because
yes,
if you come for the visit in Bay of Somme, we have a very large foreshore in front of the dikes. So I was wondering what you were studying. Do you study overtopping, or do you have waves, or it's just overflow?
for foreshores, you mean?
Yeah, for foreshore, yes.
No, it's mainly the effect of foreshores during a breach.
Do you have waves included or not?
No, we look at the moment after the breach initiates. So it's not about wave overtopping or wave. So at the moment, the experiments start at the moment that the levee is already failing.
Okay.
Yeah, so
For
it's
sure,
not,
it's very important, as an important impact on waves also. But
that's true. That's true.
yeah, so Philippe, maybe to get the overall picture, many other people have already studied the effect of vegetation on the wave propagation and the waves hitting the levee. And so there's a huge effect of this vegetation in minimizing the wave forces. We've also, Mario, did some studies on the strength of this foreshore, whether we can rely on it, that it will stay there during a storm, following overflow or waves running over it. And there the answer is more or less positive, that a shore is not so easily to get eroded. And now the effect of the presence of a foreshore on the final breach width is one of the questions. And we hope, or Mario hopes, of course, that it minimizes the overall width, and as a consequence, the risk or the hazard or the impact of it.
Okay, thank you.
More questions for Stephan, although we don't have time. I do see it's 11 o'clock. So I'll thank you again, Stephan. And if more questions, the presentation is recorded. Maybe the presentation can also be sent around.